going on out there in the land of the unfree America? There is a gigantic weight off of my foot, off of my chest. We have sued the biased and unprincipled Judge Ann Zimmerman. We have sued her ass. She has been sued. You know, unfortunately, we also had to sue Michelle Levitt, the judge who ultimately set me free from incarceration on First Amendment grounds. We sued her on a Monell claim based on my lack of due process from my 5th and my 14th Amendment. Double tap that screen, y'all. We have sued Ann Zimmerman. She has been sued. So Ann, I'm sure that Ann, because she must have become obsessed with me. You know, she must have watched 100 of my videos before she walked into that courtroom, right? How many hours, you know, and that's the thing. That's the thing I wonder. How many hours of my videos did she sit there and binge watch like a hater? You guys remember they did that study on Howard Stern in the late 1980s, early 1990s. They studied who watched the most Howard Stern, and it was the people that hated him the most. So how many hours, put in the comment section for me if you would, how many hours of my footage do you think the unprincipled and biased Ann Zimmerman watched? How many hours of my content do you think she watched? Double tap on that screen, double tap, hit your fingers, bow, 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 bow. That hits the like button. Just whap that thing real quick, because I will run out of service soon. And when I run out of service, I'll stay on as long as I can. But as soon as I hit the high desert, I'm gonna run out of service 100%, for sure, for sure. How many hours do you think Ann Zimmerman watched my content? And listen, I'll be honest with you. It took me a really long time to get my head on straight, to get my bearing for exactly what happened and what went down, and how I ended up in a dungeon, an absolute dungeon. And then today, when I went to sue, so here's the thing, when I go to the federal building, as soon as I walk into the federal building, as soon as I walk in the front door of the federal building, they assign an escort to me. I swear to God. Any federal building I go to in these United States of America, I guarantee you, any federal building I go into, they then send an escort to take me to do whatever business I'm gonna do in the federal building. So, and by the way, most federal marshals that I've met, and I've been in, I don't know, maybe a dozen federal buildings, most federal marshals I've met were prior cops, prior police officers, right? So they assigned, when I went to go sue the corrupt, biased, and unprincipled Ann Zimmerman, when I went to go sue her, when I walked in the door, they assigned a marshal to me. So when he escorted me to the filing to file the federal civil rights lawsuit against Ann Zimmerman, I'm gonna keep saying it so that the algorithm of Google will pick it up and it'll go on the pages of Google, and she will be branded as someone who violated someone's civil rights. Anyway, sorry about that. My OCD. You guys double tap the screen real quick. Double tap on your screen. We only got 37 likes and 100 and something people. But double tap on your screen. Just double tap, and put in the comment section, Team DLZ. I want to say thank you to you guys who donated. Fundraiser's still going. I've got to raise more money, but that's not what this is about right now. This is about the filing process I just went through when I sued Ann Zimmerman. So here's what happened. I went in, they assigned the marshal to me, and then we walked to the clerk's office, and I said, so how long were you a cop for? And he said, 30 years. And I said, oh, okay. I said, listen, man. I said, I'm actually a really nice guy, but when I get in front of cops and they tell me what to do, they start giving me directives, then I start to kind of be a little bit of a dick, right? And I'll kind of be aggressive with my voice and with my tone back to them, which is understandable. So then I said to the cop, so you were a cop for 30 years? And he said somewhere along the lines that I hate all cops, and I had never said that. And I said, why would you say that? I said, what makes you think I would hate all cops? I said, it's not I hate all cops. I hate the policies, procedures, and protocols. I said, let me ask you a question. When you were a cop for 30 years, did you arrest people and put them in torture cuffs? And he said, torture cuffs? they're safety restraints. That's what he called torture cuffs. Put it in the comment section. Torture cuffs are always torture. Put it in the comment section. Torture cuffs are always torture. So then he said to me, the safety restraints. I said, no, let me put them on you cop style. And he said, no. And I said, but listen, let me just ask you a question. When you arrested people over the last 30 years before you worked this cush job here as a federal marshal, I said, did anybody ever complain that it hurt? And he said, oh yeah, lots of people complained that the handcuffs hurt. I said, was it something that you heard regularly? And he said, yes. And I said, so then torture cuffs are always torture. And he said, I'm just going to have to agree to disagree with you on that. I said to him, well, have you ever been put in the torture cuffs? And he said, no, there's never been a reason to put me in torture cuffs, in handcuffs. And I said, well, listen, I've never threatened to beat up anybody. I haven't beat up anybody after I was 25 years old. There's never been a reason to put me in torture cuffs either, but yet I've probably been in torture cuffs, 4 or 5 dozen times. And he says, well, then you got to look at yourself and decide, why are you getting put in handcuffs so often? And I said, because I don't bow down and lick their boots when they give me unlawful orders and tell me what to do. And before the camera phone, they used to just grab me and put me in torture cuffs and then say it was for officer safety, which is the whole thing that we're about. OTVO, put it in the chat. Overturn Terry versus Ohio. Put it in the chat. OTVO. So I said, everything now is done in the guise of officer safety. I said, so that means that if you walk up to somebody, you can just say, I'm gonna detain you. And what does detainment include? It includes what? Putting me in the handcuffs, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, so if you heard every day that the handcuffs were hurting somebody, then you're torturing people. You're hurting people who have not committed a crime. You're detaining them based on your feeling of being safe. And he says, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. And I'm like, what the flock are you, agree to disagree? I said, man, you just said you detain people. You just said every day people, there we go. Are we still there? Are we still there? Do we still got it? Hopefully we still got it. Zimmerman got sued. There it is. I'm gonna hit the high desert in a minute, so I know that was I cutting in and out pretty bad there? I can't see. Let me put some glasses on. There we are. Right on. Now I can see some comments. Whoa, is there really only 36 people here? There's got to be more than that. I was misreading something. What is going on out there? Team DLZ is in the house. Christopher, what's going on, Playboy? Someone, did you guys see the troll? That's so funny, isn't it? Just got it. That's funny. That's hilarious. That is funny. Cops got people pulled over as I'm driving down the road here. What's going on, everybody? So anyway, I was just kind of rambling about the fact that I went to the federal building to sue the corrupt and biased and unprincipled Judge Ann Zimmerman. And when I got into the federal building, they had assigned a marshal to follow me around through the federal building, and followed me all the way up to the clerk's office, where he sat there with me the whole time that the clerk was filling out the forms for the federal civil rights lawsuit, which I find to be just harassing. And I don't know how or why why they would feel as though they have to assign a cop to hang out with me when I'm filing a federal civil rights lawsuit. To me, that doesn't make any sense. I don't think it's appropriate, considering I don't have any history of violence in my past. And I've never threatened to overthrow the government or lead a revolution or anything of the kind. All I've done is teach people their basic rights and get trifolds and cars of people and give people cop cards, and so many of them. So I go to sue the judge, and they're going to have a cop follow me around. I think that is I think that that's abysmal. That's the height of a despotic government. So a despotic government usual way. So the very beginning of a despotic is the cops following you when you go to sue a cop and the judge that put you in jail for a Manel claim, which means that the entire system was rotten from top to bottom. And so I just find it peculiar that they decided to follow me. And it's not the first time, and it won't be the last time. Every time I go in to that federal building, I will be followed around by the cops, which I think it's horrible. It's every attempt in the world to intimidate you. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Brandy, Swaney, Greg, hey, and I want to say thank you to you guys who donated to me earlier so that I could walk in that building and file and realize I wouldn't be in a hole. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Big shout out to Chevy. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys, but it was just to make sure I could get it done today. Chevy stepped in and was like, there you go. Now you can just get it done. Cops are 5150. Bill Roberts. I mean, all you guys that came in and donated, I really appreciate it. Thank you. I still have that GoFundMe going. I got to get it to over 5,000 because I have to have a subscription to Westlaw. And I'll show everybody my subscription. I will log into Westlaw because they're going to ban using AI in courtrooms across America is what they're going to do. They already did it in the Western District of North Carolina. So they're going to try to do the same thing through the district courts because nobody wants to be outsmarted by AI. How many of these judges have been using the jurisprudence that they wanted to use instead of the proper jurisprudence? So when you argue a case, if you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but I'll just say it out loud for someone who maybe wasn't taking high school civics this week. So the way that you argue a case that the judge doesn't have immunity is you list other cases where the judge didn't get immunity. And so then, of course, there are cases where the judge got immunity. And so that's what the defense will be presenting back after their motion to dismiss, because we're going to overcome the motion to dismiss on most of the things. But some of those things you may not overcome the motion to dismiss. We'll see. And then I'm going to appeal when that happens. So I'm prepared to lose. I'm prepared to lose in district court because I don't think that it's going to be a fair shake. I mean, I don't think that it is. A lot of the cases that we talk about, and one of the first cases I'll be teaching you is a case called Kent versus Dulles from 1958. It's your right to travel, your right to have a passport and be able to leave the country. Well, in 1958, before that, it was like 1950, when they denied giving Kent his passport. And so Kent lost. I'm not going to go too much into the story because I'm going to tell it this week when I teach Constitution headquarters. But Kent lost. He lost in court, and then I think he went district, appellate, circuit. Then I think he went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And if he had lost, then the government would have been able to. It's the same. They would have been able to limit your right to have a passport. And that's the 1958 case of Kent versus Dulles, Dulles. So the jurisprudence, the cases that were presented in Kent versus Dulles, a group of judges at the very beginning of the district court level, a judge there took a look at it and told Kent, no, it's not unconstitutional. They can hold your passport from you if they just claim that you're a communist. You're not a part of the Communist Party. There's no proof of that, but we're going to claim that you're a communist, so they can just take away your passport. Okay. So Kent goes to a federal judge in a district court, and the federal judge says, yeah, that's perfectly constitutional. Then he appeals. And he goes to an appellate judge who is a constitutional law scholar, and he takes a look at it, and they go, no, it's not unconstitutional. They can take away your passport. Then it goes to the circuit, and now you got a whole group of judges, 3 judges, I think, or I don't know the exact answer. The Ninth Circuit has more but anyway. So it goes to the circuit court, and at least 3 judges preside and take a look at Kent versus Dulles, And the 3 judges in the circuit court go, oh, they denied your passport claiming you're a communist? Okay, that's good. That's good. We're fine with that. It's not unconstitutional. And Kent is like, what the? How am I going to get out of here? I want to fly to Norway, to Greenland, where I take pictures. And so then it goes to the Supreme Court. Now, mind you, we win in Kent versus Dulles, and the Supreme Court 5-4 decides that if the government decides you're a communist, they still can't withhold your passport. So when you get to that level, but understand the Supreme Court justices had one voted the other way in Kent versus Dulles, you wouldn't have a right to get a passport. All the government needs say is that you're a communist. That's it. Just say so. We're seeing that again today with Trump. If you have a certain amount of tattoos or look a certain way, then you must be part of this gang. You should go to an El Salvadorian prison. Okay, so now in Kent versus Dulles, I want to remind you though, I just sued Ann Zimmerman, and I sued them all for a Manel claim for the bailiffs, the cops, the prosecutor, the judges, all screwing me over. It's a Manel claim. Okay, so now I'm going to the district court level, and I have the same judge, Andrew Gordon, who's heard a different one of my cases. The case where I have a partial summary judgment against that cop, Bork, who arrested me. So now we're at the district court level where I'm suing 2 judges, a prosecutor, a cop, and the bailiffs that work in that courtroom. Do you think the district judge is going to let me win? Do you think the district judge is going to say, yes, Chille, you get to sue these judges, yes, and you get to sue their bailiffs, and you get to sue the cop again for false testimony on the stand, and we're going to go ahead and hit the gavel down and say, yes, Chille, you get to sue those cops? I don't think so. Do you think so? I want to know. Do you think so? Chevy, do you think so? The district court, I'm going to lose. Everybody understands that, right? The same day I filed the lawsuit, and I'm still collecting donations so I can pay for Westlaw every month. You guys can look into it. It's $340 a month for a pro se litigant. Okay, so you heard the story of Kent versus Dulles, where they took his passport, the passport office did, and only claimed he was a terrorist or he was a communist. And now I am a bona fide First Amendment auditor, and we are listed as terrorists with the government. So now I'm suing, and the same judge is hearing this case. I got it right here. I filed. Everybody can look it up online. It's on Pacer. Do you think he's going to let me win? Do you think he's going to let me win on the merits of it being unconstitutional to arrest me wrongfully and then go in front of a judge who was married to a cop and kept his last name after they divorced? I put this in the lawsuit, by the way. And then I go to the courtroom. I'm trying to assemble with my people peacefully in the back, pre-trial conference, and the bailiff starts to harass me, and then goes back and tells the judge that I won't sit forward in the courtroom, prejudicing the judge who already didn't like